Good evening, Bournemouth fans, and welcome to the Barking Cat. I'm here with Neil Dawson. Neil, how are you?
I'm very good. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Cheers to that. And of course,
cheers to a midweek win.
Fingers crossed, eh? Well, of course, we've got one against Brighton, which we'll talk about, and we're here to preview the Arsenal game in the FA Cup on Monday. Of course, on YouTube and via the podcast, we've taken in some reaction from that Brighton game. And how did you feel after that, Neil? Does it feel like a weight off your shoulders, or?
It was a massive weight off everyone's shoulders, I think. It didn't look at the first half hour. I think we thought we were in again for another night of misery, and then it took one goal, didn't it? And I've not seen a team transform on the back of one goal as much as that one. It was. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't at the game. I was watching it in a Travelodge in Warrington, and on a tiny little screen. But you could see the energy just lifted instantly from the team.
For the first 25 minutes, it was poor, and it was almost like we were watching the Bournemouth of old, wasn't it? Well, the Bournemouth this season, where there was just no ideas, no creativity. But it was just. But it turned so quickly, and then it looked like the Bournemouth that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, it was literally. I mean, the second half in particular, the energy and effort that the players were putting in on the pressing, the movement, the speed of passing between players that previously people that couldn't even find someone 15, 20 yards away with a ball, and then it was like a memory clicked and everything came back to how it was. So, whether or not it will persevere into the Villa game, because I think we'll see a different team tomorrow night, but whether it will persevere to the Villa game, we'll have to wait and see. But absolutely fantastic to watch.
And to a man, each and every player seemed to be changed. I don't know if it's a team psyche thing or whatever, but Ryan Fraser was playing really well. He was running, he was putting in hard yards. Even Philip Billing looked like he actually gave a damn for once, and he's looked very ponderous at times, but I thought he and many others put in a shift whereby previously they were nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, but again, none of them played well for that first half hour. So it literally was. I don't think it was the first goal. I think it was the fact the second goal came relatively quickly afterwards. And I think for the first time ever, the team felt, we're not going to lose this game. We're at the very worst, we're going to draw the game. And it was almost like that relaxation that went through them just completely transformed. So you're right. I mean, Philip Billing was running the game at spells in the second half when he's looked nothing at all like that. And Ryan Fraser, that's probably his best performance of the season. Dominic Solanke, was that his best performance of the season?
Yeah, well, it seems to be the case, and it was almost like Eddie had some kind of pressure on him that we don't know about, and the players were playing for him in a way whereby it was almost some kind of linchpin fixture, almost like his future depended on it. But they came good, and there seems to be, at least, I was worried about whether there was team unity and this sort of togetherness off the pitch, but it seemed like on the pitch at least they seemed like a really close-knit group. Yeah,
I think, I mean, I don't know whether or not his future depended on it, but I think the players would have been well aware that had we done another 3-0, 4-0 defeat like the Watford game, I think it would have made life very, very difficult for everyone. And I think probably the senior pros would have had a word before the game or whatever, and I think it was guys, if ever you're going to do it, tonight's the night to do it. And Brighton probably ideal people to do that against, because I think we had high hopes for Watford, but I think people probably forget that Watford are playing like a top 6 team at the moment, so it was going to be hard. But Brighton, other than their win against us, had done very little before and very little since, so it was perfect team to play.
So if you're going to look at 3 teams that we're going to hope to be pulling in, obviously Norwich are going to be one of them that you would think might be going down there despite the result against us. Watford, they lost against Villa, as I say, on the night. It would have been more ideal had they won, maybe. But what 3 teams are you looking at thinking, right, these could be the ones that we can target?
Is that the Barking Cat?
Yeah, I think it might be,
I think that was the Barking Cat. I think without a shadow of doubt, obviously Norwich. I think Watford Villa we could have done with a draw there. I think Villa will spend this week, and I think they'll move away. So I think Brighton definitely we will be looking at pulling down there. I don't know who would the third one be. Who would else? That's the worry, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Watford,
Burnley?
of course. Yeah, well maybe Burnley, but they got
United,
So it swings and roundabouts really at the moment, and you're kind of thinking, right, the amount of teams that we could be pulling in it seems to be lessening each and every match week that goes by. which puts an emphasis on how decent our form needs to be. So obviously, bearing in mind we've got Villa coming up, we've got this match sandwiched in the middle against Arsenal. And it's one of those kind of mental equations now. Does he maintain momentum, or does he chuck in some of the youth and keep injuries injury free? But surely it's got to be a momentum thing now, isn't it?
I think we discussed, didn't we, the Luton game and how strong the team was for that, and that would surprise everyone because it was on the back of a huge run of fixtures. I think with having a clear week or so from Brighton and a clear week going into Aston Villa, because it's a Monday night game, I think we'll see a strong team. So I think we'll see 8 first team players that played against Brighton, and I think we might see Sermon come in, maybe give Lerma a break, because it's rumoured he's playing with a knee injury, isn't it?
I mean, players like Lewis Cook,
he'll come in potentially.
You know, Lloyd Kelly maybe. Do you think?
I think he'll want to see Kelly to get him ready for the run-in. So I think if you've got Sermon, Cook, Kelly coming in, potentially Surridge. But I think he tends to start Wilson in cup games, doesn't he? Or play Wilson in cup games. So the Arsenal made 4 changes in their third round fixture when they played Leeds. That's the first time that Arsenal played a team that strong in the FA Cup for years. So clearly I think Mikel Arteta will be looking at it from an Arsenal point of view. They ain't going to do much in the league. I think he'll want a cup run and something just to make his mark on the club. So they made 4 changes in the last round, so I think they'll make 2, 3 or 4 this time. So if we don't go strong, it could prove difficult. So, and I think Eddie will know all of that.
Hopefully we will put in a decent lineup. In terms of defensively though, obviously Francis came in for Steve Cook. Steve Cook's now back from his suspension after that wonder handball. Just wanted to get your view on that handball against Norwich. I mean, what the hell were your thoughts? I don't know if you've got a football background or not, but what was he thinking?
Well, I played a lot of football, but very, very badly. But
would it be instinctive for you to do something like that?
It made me laugh when people were talking about instinctive. He threw himself off the ground and went full length. He was full length with fingertips. So I think we've all of us that play football have had to do a stint defending a corner at the near post before, and could understand if the ball was coming to your face, you might do that. But I don't think anyone gets off a pitch and goes full length with a finger. I mean, it was a save that. It was absolutely incredible. The goalkeeper made that. We'd have been talking about it for ages. I mean, fair play to it, but no, so it's not instinctive. It's not instinctive.
But he could come back in, of course. But
he
then,
will, I thought.
So what would your centre defensive pairing be? Would with Nathan Ake maybe get a break, or would you chuck Lloyd Kelly in there? Because I always thought that Lloyd Kelly was a left back by trade, but he can go left of centre back. So.
He was left back all last season at Bristol City, and any Bristol City fans will tell you he was brilliant because he gallivants forward so much. So I would think that I think Eddie's not as convinced by Rico as some of the fans are. I think Rico's sort of become a cult hero, but he still gives the ball away a lot. I think Eddie will be nervous about us retaining possession, and I think he might want to look at Lloyd Kelly in that position. I think Lloyd Kelly will move to being a Nathan Ake's replacement in time, much the same as Tyrone Mings was signed as a left back, but I think Eddie always had the view to move him into the centre.
So is that why maybe there seems to be this rumoured interest with Danny Rose, that Eddie isn't quite thinking Rico's a full ticket just yet?
Yeah, potentially. I think Danny Rose is going to go to Newcastle though, isn't he?
I'm not too sure. Quite possibly.
Just looking online this afternoon and having spoke to my mate, who's a Newcastle fan, I think they're expecting him up there because he's a Leeds lad, isn't he? Yeah. So he might want to go back further north. So, but no, I think he'll be happy with Rico and Kelly as backup, and Adam Smith can also play at left back and Francis at right back. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if we see that for Villa. Yeah. Because I think Francis's name tends to be printed on the team sheet prior to the game, doesn't it? So I think he'll want Cook and Ake as established centre backs. It wouldn't surprise me for Villa. I think Arsenal, anything could happen, but for Villa it wouldn't surprise me if Adam Smith's at left back and Francis is at right back, but we'll have to wait and see. I can't see him dropping Frano.
No. Interesting. Well, earlier on the week on YouTube, you may have seen us linked to this from Twitter. We spoke to the Same Old Arsenal podcast, and that was with Dan Potts, Trev, and also Andrew, and I took part as well. So this is a brief bit of a video from that, where they spoke about their thoughts about Monday's game.
Trev, we're gonna come to you, mate, about Arsenal, because it is an FA Cup game, which means that we may rotate some players. For me, I said to you off air before we went live, Martinelli can't be dropped, can he?
No, you wouldn't think so, would you? It's interesting because I know it's an FA Cup game and we would be expecting rotation, but don't forget we've got Bournemouth, then we've got Burnley, then we've got 2 weeks off, haven't we? Basically, because we've got that our rest week. So I don't know whether Arteta will think, well, I'll play them all anyway, because he might fancy a run in the FA Cup. But Martinelli, you can't drop him. Why would you drop him? He's everything we've been asking for years now, isn't he? The passion and the energy. To be honest with you, well, at Chelsea on when was it? When did we play Chelsea?
Tuesday night, yeah.
Tuesday night. If I was very happy with the draw, I would have been ecstatic with a win. But if we'd have got beat at the end of that game, I'd have still been able to say, well, actually, the boys left it all on the pitch. And that's what's important to me. I just want to walk out of the ground and think the Arsenal played themselves into the ground today. And Martinelli is the epitome of that, running all over the place. And hopefully, it is. It's getting infectious through our team, isn't it? We don't get caught up the pitch much anymore, do we? We're dropping back and we're playing the game that teams have played against us for the last few years. We're starting to play that game. I'm excited. No, don't drop Martinelli. Definitely not.
No, I have to agree.
Who do you drop?
Well, this is the question, Trev, as well, because we are down to bare bones as it is, and the transfer window, believe it or not, is apparently open. But we're not doing anything about that to help our squad. But what I will say is that I think some of these young players that have come through could be some of the answers to our questions, because it's not just Martinelli, although he was outstanding, I thought, on Tuesday night and has been throughout the season. I think when he went through on goal, the last time I saw an 18-year-old do that for Arsenal was Nicolas Anelka, and he was a half-decent player, wasn't he? So let's hope that he's even better than him. But you've also got to mention the young lads like Saka, the young lads like Guendouzi, who I thought come on and did brilliantly again. Gets a lot of stick of the last few weeks, but I thought he was sensational when he come on and give a lot of passion and fight. But this lad Saka, Andrew, I mean, he looks absolutely exceptional, doesn't he?
He's absolute quality. And I mean, he came out in the press not too long ago, a few days ago, and said that if Arsenal want me to be a left back, I will learn the role of a left back. I want to be in the team. He wants to play for Arsenal. That's the most important thing to him. And it doesn't matter where on the pitch. So, what a talent! He's got everything, isn't he? And I mentioned a few weeks ago that it's almost tongue-in-cheek. I think it was after his first game at left back, and said, "Could we have found our new Ashley Cole?" Because he started off as a winger, and and then sort of converted into a left back, and he seems to have all the attributes. He doesn't get knocked off the ball either. He's got the strength. He's got the pace. So I really rate the kid, and at their age, they should be able to play every game at the moment. We haven't got that many games coming up, like you said, Trev. I don't think we should have a weakened team. I think at the back we're going to have problems, but I think if Socrates is back for the game, hopefully, then we'll just put a sack of potatoes next to him as his central defensive partner, because he'd be better than Mustafi, to be perfectly honest. He might sort of deflect a few more balls away. So, but that's going to be the only issue, is who we play at centre back. Because I mean, I don't like all the criticism for Chambers. I do think there's a really cultured defender there, and he just needs to run the games now. And I think we're just going to have to bite the bullet and play him for a few weeks. And yes, he might make the odd mistake because he's rusty. He's been out for so long. But I think he just needs to play his way back into form.
You mean Holding?
We really need him.
You mean Holding, not Chambers, don't you?
I do beg your pardon. I do. Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do.
Yeah.
I think he's a really cultured defender. I think he's got a lot of really good points, and he was just about getting to show what he could do before he got injured last season. And I think he needs to have a run. I really do. And we'll just have to see how it goes, because he even being rusty, I think he's still going to make a lot of less critical mistakes than Mustafi.
Trev, coming to you, mate. We're going to start to wrap this up now. Trev, predictions for Monday night, mate. What are you going to go for?
But there's still replays in this round, aren't there? It's the next round we don't have replays, isn't it?
Yeah, replays are still about, mate. Yeah.
So, I think we'll go down there and we'll turn it on. And I fancy a 3-1. I'm going to have a 3-1 to the mighty Arsenal. just talking about, just going back though, we missed me on Bournemouth's danger man. You see, I don't worry so much about opposition strikers nowadays. Where we suffer is our lack of height from a set piece in defence. That's where we give a goal away. You know, where these big bulking centre halves come into our box, and we can't match them in the air, and we can't match them for strength and power. That's what worries me most. But I think we'll win 3-1 at Bournemouth. I think I'll be very drunk after the game, and I think it'll be a cracking night. And and then on we go to the 5th round, and then I wish Sam all the best with them staying up. Hey, I'll tell you what, Harry Redknapp only lives up the road, doesn't he? You can have him.
It's Sam Banks,
Tony Poulis. Yeah, there's loads of them.
Oh, blimey. No, stick with Eddie. Andrew, what are you going for a prediction on Monday night, mate?
I think we are going to see a good show from Pepe on Monday. I really do. Again, it's another one I can't understand criticism of. I think he's been improving a lot, working really hard. You know, he's been working back quite a lot as well, which seems to be gone unnoticed. I actually agree with you, Trevor. I think 3-1. I think we might concede, like you say, on a set piece, but I think we're going to take it very seriously. I think we're going to put out a strong team, and I think he will really, really want to start building and getting results. So, yeah, I think 3-1 as well. The Pepe, Martinelli.
And I'm going to ask Sam for his prediction, but I'm going to go for mine first. I'm not going to be as optimistic as these two. I'm going to go for a replay at the Emirates. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw, and I think we'll go to the Emirates and we'll beat them there. Sam, what are you going for?
I was about to ask you actually. Well, you know, what round is it? The replays are not a case anymore, but obviously it's not the 4th round. So I think that, in my opinion, I don't think Arsenal are going to win on the night, but you know. Probably a draw. So, you know, we can score goals and it's set pieces as well, that we, you know, really do well at. We found another way to play against Brighton, and we're you know, looking at your defence, there's a good chance that we can, you know, exploit a few weaknesses, but I'm sure vice versa as well. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 replay at the Emirates, and we'll come to what happens at a later date for that.
Mate, we'll get you back on. We'll have a chat about that if that does happen. But I, of course, hope that we do go through on Monday night. I just think that the Bournemouth will be well up for it against Arsenal, as most opposition teams are. And I think that we may struggle. But listen, I hope I'm wrong. I'm normally wrong on these prediction things, so let's hope I'm wrong for that.
So there you go. Those are the thoughts from Dan, Trev, and Andrew there, and I had put my 2 penneth in every so often. Interesting kind of 4-way chat. May toy with that for one of the podcasts, but they are looking. All Arsenal fans are looking at this as a match that is must win, but they're also expecting to win it because all their predictions were, you know, like Arsenal victories. What are you expecting from it? Oh, I mean, well, firstly, what are you hoping? I mean, presumably that same style of football that we witnessed for 2/3 of the match against Brighton.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a continuation of the Brighton game, seeing a couple of new players that we've not seen for a little while. I think you know, if you're an Arsenal fan, you would expect to win, because if they make 4 changes and we make 4 changes, our side's going to be strong. Our side's going to not be as strong as theirs because they've got some fantastic players. So I think Mikel Arteta's developing their style and the way that they play over a period of games. So we'll see an evolution of the Arsenal side that came here on, was it Boxing Day? I think? Yeah, it was Boxing Day. Yeah. And we're going to have to be bang on our game, like it's live on television. But if Eddie decides to go with the side that started against Brighton and play a proper first team to keep the momentum going, then there's a chance we'll have too much for them, because they're not on great form, or they don't travel well either. No. They never have. So.
And of course we'll know who we would potentially have before the fixture as well, because the draw's made, I think, during the one show or whatever.
We'll all be tuned in.
Yeah, so you know, maybe it'll be Saints or Spurs. It could be Pompey, because they won 4-2 yesterday as well. So I mean, if we are still in this kind of position, like say if we got through to the next round and we're still like in the relegation mire, he's not treated the cup with much respect before, which is ironic given the fact that we've been in relatively safe position. So, but surely you'd be thinking it's got to be league. Do you reckon he's in that mindset at the moment, or is he thinking, well, let's just keep momentum going?
I think he will judge each game based on a momentum basis and on the fitness of the players that he's got available. So he won't take any risks with anyone. It is bizarre because all the other years was the years we should have gone strong in the FA Cup. Now you've got even me. I used to moan about not playing as strong as him. Now I'm thinking, whatever we do, let's not get Nathan Ake injured or Jefferson Lerma injured. So I've turned into the Eddie of old. But I think he'll judge every game as it comes, and I think we'll get a strong team next round. I think if we then get through that and maybe play Portsmouth at home, I think he might get a weaker team again. I just think he'll judge each game on its merits. But it'd be great to get Portsmouth. Return of the Brett.
That would be superb. And they're a bit. I mean, you're on the Vitals forum, obviously, and you've seen some people with these. I think they're very silly ideas, like bringing back old players like that who've not got the technical ability to cope in the Premier League. But it's all just kind of reminiscing, isn't it, really, with rose-tinted spectacles. It's not feasible whatsoever to be doing stuff like that.
There's no bigger Brett Pitman fan than me. I used to get so annoyed when people used to have a go at him because I thought, if you can't see what he does for the club, you're mad. But the time would have been, as with Jan, if they could have had a few games at the start of the Premier League, scored a couple of goals, I think we'd all have been happy, because I think Eddie knew he brought in Josh King, that Brett and Jan just lack pace, and the Premier League, you can get away with anything, but you can't get away with a lack of pace. But we'd all have loved to see him score a goal for Bournemouth in the Premier League, because he deserved it more than anything for what he did to get us in.
In some ways, Monday doesn't really matter because it is just the FA Cup. If we get knocked out, we get knocked out. Not the end of the world, but obviously then comes a huge fixture. It's like 6 pointers all the way, isn't it? I mean, we failed against Watford, we beat Brighton and then Villa, which is again, it's a must-win match, would you say?
It's a must-win. So Brighton they were all must-win to the last 3 or 4, but as each one goes without a win, the next one, to your point about Brighton and how critical it was, becomes more important. So,
well, it's a momentum thing, isn't it? It's actually, more important just because of the fact that we failed to build momentum previously. We got that win against Chelsea, we got the draw on Boxing Day against a strong Arsenal side, but we never followed it up in matches where we should have. Burnley at home after Chelsea, failed there, and then Brighton away where we were abysmal. So in a way it's just like we need this continuity. So this Arsenal match is important, but then the Villa match I think is absolutely huge, and they are surely a side that are in our sights. If we've got to target them.
They have to be. So Brighton was key, because I think were they I can't remember how many points they were ahead of us going into the game.
2 points ahead. 5 points ahead,
so
and it could have been 2 or 8.
So that would have been 2 or 8. So Villa is a similar situation, isn't it? Villa are a better side than Brighton, I would suggest. I think Tyrone Mings will probably have the game of his life against us, because you can imagine he's got a lot to prove. I hope the fans don't wind him up, because I think he'll play better and better. He's the sort of player, I think, that he's got a big ego. I think if we boo him or sing "What a Waste of Money" or whatever, he will get the game of potentially could get the game of his life out. So
I think the chant at Villa Park was "You're just a shit Nathan Ake."
Right. Okay,
so
right,
there you go. And he did have the he did have Callum Wilson on toast for most of that match. I know the result went our way, but I thought that he did deal with him really well. I mean, our 2 goals that we scored, one was a pen, and then the other one was a long range shot from Harry Wilson.
Deflected.
So deflected off Tyrone as well, which was quite.
And I watched that game with 75 Villa fans in a bar in Corfu, with me and my little lad were the only 2 in Bournemouth shirts. So it was they were so up for it before the match, and when we were 2-0 up in about 12 minutes. So it was a quiet pub with me trying not to get too excited. Some of them weren't great.
Oh, I love it. Transfer wise then, we've been rumoured to have a bit of interest. Of course, Danny Rose one, it may be transpiring that he goes to Newcastle, but are there any other rumours that you've heard of that are worthy of note?
Well, apparently the lad from Borussia Dortmund said no, isn't he? Which doesn't really surprise me. We talked about this on the last time we were together on the podcast. It's so hard to persuade people to come to a team when they don't know what their future's going to be beyond July. We'll have to offer them a clause that drops their salary. I mean, it's a nightmare position to be in. We've been in stronger positions in every year.
So is that something that's written into players' clauses, that if you get relegated, then you're going to take a pay cut?
Traditionally,
And would that be in the clauses of existing players at the moment?
I would imagine so. So that's one of the things where I think if that doesn't fire them up, they won't be able to get the same money in the Championship.
Yeah.
So it's very unusual for a player to have a clause that not have a clause that reduces their salary on relegation, because the TV money stops. You get the parachutes, don't you? 60 million, then 40 million, then 20 million, then stop. So in terms of there's a rumour about an Icelandic defender I saw today. I must admit, when I looked at his career history, I didn't get overexcited.
No.
You don't know what research has been done. I would imagine if we're going to strengthen, it'll be a forward position. We've got enough midfielders, we've got enough defenders, we've got people coming back. I think if we lack anything, we lack a wide man without Danjuma.
Yeah.
We've literally got Fraser. Harry Wilson's not a wide man, but he's trying to adapt to it. So I think Eddie would be looking at bringing in width.
Yeah.
He keeps saying if he gets his full squad back, that's all he wants.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind we take a while to bed players in, he's probably right. So, but it wouldn't surprise me if we get one wide man on a 6-month loan.
Interesting. And so, just to wrap up, I mean, what are your thoughts on Eddie Howe at this point? Because there's been a lot of people that have been questioning him, rightly so. Some people want him gone, other people want to persevere. Even if we get relegated, they want him to stay. It seemed to me that the game plan on the Tuesday night match against Brighton didn't overly vary, like even before the first 25 minutes and afterwards. It just seemed to be the players that are the ones responsible for their own destiny. I didn't see anything, like any shift in formation change or anything. It's just the players' application just seemed to all of a sudden improve, which suggests we're a bit of a confidence team.
Yeah, I think a lot of managers will tell you that football's all about confidence. And Jeff was saying on the podcast last week, wasn't he, that formations really depend on the effort and energy that people put into them, and there's a lot of truth in that. I don't think Eddie did do anything different. I don't think we'll see him do anything different, because I think he definitely likes that 4-4-1-1 way of playing. Yeah. I think he's just never found another Jan Kermigan, and he's never found a Mark Pugh or a Matt Ritchie. That's the Jefferson Lerma's a more than adequate replacement than Ariata. He's a far better player. Yeah. So it's that the pivotal role he's never replaced is that Solanke is the Kermigan role, and I think he's tried it with Dom, he's tried it with Josh. We shoehorn players into that, and but I think that's what we're going to see for the rest of the season, and it will all depend on if we get ahead. I think our confidence will be high. Will the Brighton game have taught us that if we go behind, it doesn't matter, because we've still got 2 or 3 goals in us? We've had such a long period of not being able to score. I think the players just thought the minute we go 1-0 down, the best we can hope for is a draw.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're back to that spirit that we used to have, where it doesn't matter if we go 1-0 down, it didn't even matter if we go 2-0 down to Liverpool. We can still come back and win games, and that's the bit that'd be great to see. I think it's a massive unknown, but Villa will tell us a lot, because we've had false dawns before. If we lose 2-0 to Villa, we're back in the camp, and I think we can probably say that we might get relegated. If we beat Villa or draw with Villa and play with confidence, I think you can say we've got a fighting chance.
What's your kind of, if like as ratios go at the moment, as things stand, are you 50-50, or are you more like? I mean, history dictates that Eddie Howe can get us out of horrible positions, but we've never really had a position like this with so much pressure on us, and also an injury crisis to boot, with so many players.
And we've always played well. That was the difference.
Yeah.
So we were playing well, hitting the post,
that's very true.
hitting the crossbar, just losing against better players, which happens in the Premier League. I think recently we've started losing against teams on paper worse than us, or players on paper worse, and that's the bit that sort of takes your hope away. So
you're 50-50 or 60-40?
Before Brighton, I was 60% that we get relegated. I'm now probably 50-50.
Yeah. So
Villa will swing it again.
Yeah.
What do we need? 5 wins?
Yeah, ideally, 5 wins and maybe a couple of draws.
I think it could be a very interesting points total this year for the third team to go down. So everyone's always had that.
Is it 40? Well, I mean, I know it's been 40, but there's been 36. Sometimes it's been all right.
So
but
I think 39 was it West Brom went down with 39.
Yeah.
That's why everyone talks about 40. That record only exists because it exists. So there's no reason at all why a team won't go down on 41 or 42 in the years to come, and everyone will say, well, you need to get 43. I think this year, if we get on a roll, Watford are on a roll, I think you'll see it could get very, very interesting. So, and I'm not necessarily sure that previous points totals will be enough. So.
Does it perhaps not help that there are so many poor teams this season in the Premier League? And I say poor because Liverpool are flying, and then you've got Man City and Leicester that are doing all right. But other than that, like, everyone seems to be beating each other.
Yeah. We can't rely on. So you could normally rely on if Burnley went to Manchester United like they did in the week. The best they could hope for was a draw.
Yeah, so Man United win usually, or draw best.
And that's a problem that we've got. But then also we've got to go to Man United, haven't we? And we've got those games. So if we can get our act together, the opportunity that exists for other teams also exists for us. And I'm sure Eddie will be telling that. Liverpool, Man City, you can write off.
They're gone,
But even Tottenham now. Tottenham at home with Mourinho is a gift from heaven compared to Tottenham with Pochettino.
Yeah, that's right.
And no Harry Kane probably as well until close to the Euros. So,
and also there are players that have got things to prove between now and then, like Callum Wilson, like Aaron Ramsdale, that hopefully will be upping their performances in the because Callum Wilson's been shocking. Apart from I think he did very well at Brighton, scored a goal, which I think is massive for him. But players like that, surely to God. Before that Brighton goal, you're thinking there's no way you'll get in. But maybe this will kickstart his kind of push for a squad place.
Well, I think Harry Kane and Rashford are out, aren't they? Or potentially out for the championships as well.
Really?
Or
Rashford as well.
Won't be close. So, and now everyone's talking about Danny Ings, probably rightly based on the season he's had. But Callum Wilson on form is a better player than Danny Ings.
Yeah.
But it's down to him. It's down to all of them. But they I would love to be able to. Will we ever find out why we had just that dreadful drop of everyone playing below their own ability? I doubt we ever will. But if they all get back on form, I mean, Ryan Fraser, he won't have a chance to go into any tournaments, really. I think he's Scottish.
That's right. Yeah. So
my dad would kill me for saying that. He's Scottish, but yeah. So
Well, should be an interesting match against Brighton. If you're coming down to the Vitality, safe travels. And if you go into the game against Arsenal, make some noise. If not, obviously Aston Villa the Saturday afterwards, a huge game for AFC Bournemouth, absolutely massive. Fingers crossed.
But don't boo Tyrone.
Don't boo Tyrone. There's no need for it. No need for it. But between now and the next video, hopefully it will be a triumphant video up the Cherries.
Up the Cherries.